I wish you were dead. Why don't you just kick the bucket already? This kid was a spoiled, selfish brat, but he didn't care how it affected Bob. You know, his dad could have stopped him because his son is not going to do that for you. But he gave that boy the ability to choose. And this is a picture of us trying to run from God. And listen to this. God says, I love you, so you're free to go. God won't make you believe. God won't force you to go to heaven. He gives you a choice in the matter. You can follow God, you can run away from God. The Lord did not stop the prodigal any more than he stopped Adam and Eve in the garden. Now, he warns us about the consequences of sin, but he does give us a choice. So that kid left home. He probably had a tricked out BMW chariot, golf pit. He got the ultimate crib through Monster Party. He was a warlock full of tiger blood, man. And he thought, I'm going to do everything I've always wanted to know. So he got a bunch of hookers, and he had more money than he could count, and he had friends everywhere, and he was living this supposedly fake life. But then a recession hit. Sound familiar? And suddenly, his money was gone. He went from the penthouse to the outhouse. He was so impoverished, he had nowhere to go. And he ended up feeding kids. Now, they didn't have a welfare program in that day. They didn't have something like the Fred George Mission that was started by my uncle, Fred George, and is run by my aunt, Lily George, on Skid Row here in Los Angeles. He didn't know what it was. There was no welfare system. Certainly there was no family around because he had loved his family. So he ended up feeding kids. Now, you know, some of the food they make for animals now is pretty appealing. I went into one of these fancy dog stores the other day. They have these little treats you can buy for dogs. I wanted to buy them and eat them myself. But they were too expensive. I would have thought people pushing dogs around in strollers. What was that? How many of you push your dog in a stroller? Get out there. No, so come on, stop that. Make the dog walk, okay? But this kid was hanging out with kids. Maybe you've been out living it up, and you kids bought him recently. You reaped the result of what you sowed. You got a DUI. You got arrested. You got your girlfriend pregnant. Your relationship broke up. Maybe you're even suicidal. Oscar de la Hoya is one of the most successful boxers ever. In a recent interview with Univision, he spoke of how his drinking, drug use, and womanizing got so out of control he considered suicide. He said in this interview, rock bottom was recently. Within a couple of years, I was thinking my life isn't even worth it. I don't have the strength. I don't have the courage to take my own life, but I was thinking about it. Have you ever sunk so low you thought of taking your own life? Just recently, director Tony Scott committed suicide. Tony Scott directed films like Top Gun, Days of Thunder, Unstoppable, Men on Fire. His brother is Ridley Scott, the director of Gladiator. Tony Scott was working on a sequel to Top Gun, but inexplicably he jumped off the Vincent Thomas Bridge right here in Los Angeles. He left notes, but no one can understand why he would be so despondent as this case is so wide. Australia's fifth top model judge, Charlotte Johnson, was recently hospitalized after a suicide attempt. So here we have a professional boxer at the top of his career, a fantastic director, a beautiful model, all with suicidal tendencies, one following through. Maybe you've been tempted to suicide, or you've thought about it. You feel like your life is no longer worth living. Listen to God. He gives you the purpose of your life.
That's right.
I heard the story of a man named Earl. He was born in Turkey, raised as a Muslim. And he left his home, and he had been married, and he loved his wife. He was looking for some girl in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he started to see her, and the relationship was falling apart. He was government ignoring him. So Earl decided to kill himself. called the cocaine dealer to call some money out of the bank. He was on his way in his car to go to the cocaine dealer to spend almost $1,000 of cocaine in overdose. And as he was on his way in his car driving, he decided to find some kind of weird, moody music to listen to, sort of soundtrack for a suicide, if you will. So he happened to come across a Christian radio station that played the song, which he kind of liked, and the announcer said, and that group will be at the Harvest Crusade tonight at the Pit. Now, the Pit happens to be the arena we were meeting in there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And as it happened, a girl was just driving by the Pit at that very moment. He caught the sign, the Pit. So he pulled his car and got out and walked inside. Heard a little of the music and heard the preached gospel, and he went forward. He gave his life and Jesus Christ. And his life was changed. God can give you hope as well. But this prodigal can't spawn us. And now he's reaping the consequences of his stupid decision. Maybe you were raised in the church. You heard Bible stories ever since you were a little kid. You know all about Disney families, right? You turned from it. And you've gone out and lived your own life. But you're beginning a little bit to happen. And now the choice is you're thinking about the values and their words. And you're thinking about how you should raise them. The Bible calls them backsliders. You see, as a Christian, you're either going forward or you're going backward. But if you're not growing in your faith, you're potentially backsliding. And maybe you're a backslider. Or to put it in the verbiage of our story, you're a prodigal son or daughter. You know what it's like. You believe, but you've been running from God. I'm saying to you tonight, take a U-turn and run back to God because He loves you and anxiously awaits your return. I'm going to talk to you about it. A lot of times we think, well, I'll do that later. You know, I'm going to have fun. I'll get right with God when I'm really old, like 40 or something. Listen, you have no guarantee that you'll ever be 40 or 50. The Bible says life is like a vaporous smoke that appears for a moment and then it vanishes. Life can end for you tonight. I'm not doing a scare tactic here, folks, but this could be the last opportunity you have to get right with God. So here's the boy, far from home, miserable. And he came to his senses. Here's what Jesus said. He said the boy finally came to his senses and said to himself, at home even the higher men have food enough to spare. And here I am dying of hunger. I'll go home to my father. And I'll say, Father, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Take me on to higher creation. So he started the journey back home.